battles unfold on the table. This expands miniature warriors in a strategic dance. 15 millimeters of intricate design, a world of conflict in a scaled down line. Terrain crafted with precision and care. Armies maneuver under watchful glare. Dice roll to
Hello
decide.
again, everybody. This is Derek, and I'm coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. And in today's video, I'm going to work on my Meg terrain, for my Meg projects. This will span from ancient period, like Romans and Carthaginians, and all the way up through the medievals, even, you know, my 100 Years' War armies and all. This applies to all of those. It's basically just for any Meg battle. As you know, I went through an update and did my terrain updates, and I counted terrain pieces and stuff, and then I came up with an idea to make some more terrain, but using stiff felt. So that's what we're going to do today. I've already got started, and then I realized I haven't turned the camera on. I didn't start the video. So let me show you the table and we'll get working, because I got a long way to go. All right, so what I've got is a bowl of water, right? That's to smooth out my fingers when I'm applying the Alex. Now, I have a new type of Alex. It's called Alex Fast Dry. I didn't realize I had picked up the Alex Fast Dry, but it's not going to hurt or anything like that. And so what I do is I cut out a number of pieces of stiff felt. I wrote what they were on just so that I didn't. I'm going to cover all that up, so there's no big deal that has been written on. But you might notice that down here I've got some pretty small pieces. These are 3 base widths. Okay, you can't see that. There we go. There we go. These guys down here are 3 base width pieces, which is the optional small pieces. And then I stepped it up to these pieces here are the smallest of the compulsories, right? And then these are all the largest of the compulsories. So even though this is a small compulsory, it can also be used as a large optional. So it's kind of like the mid-range piece. So we've got compulsories. These are also compulsories, just smaller. And then these are the optionals. And these are also optionals. So it's kind of a cool. And this is my river piece that I've done. Yeah, so we got a river piece, and we've got a variety of other pieces. On my monitor, these look blue, but that's not true. They're green. They're a lot like this, even though that's like an OD green. But that's what we're going to work with right now. And I think I've gone through the majority of this Alex already, doing these 2 pieces. Luckily I know, or at least I think I know, that I've got 1 additional. I might have 2 actually. Yep, these are both fast dry. I didn't realize I had picked up fast dry, but that's good. I like fast. I like things that dry fast. I don't know if it works as good as the non-fast dry. I'm going to kind of try to move the camera out of the way a little bit so I can get in here. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just spreading, as you can see, I've got wax paper down on top of the table, and that's so that I don't get any of this putty on my table. But also there's an ulterior motive. When I get to the edge of the felt, right, I want to go over the edge. As you can see, I kind of went over the edge there. Because what that'll do, well, for one thing, it'll get the putty all the way to the edge. Okay, I don't even have enough putty to cover this thing. It's getting too thin. But see, I'll go over the edge, and what that does, believe it or not, it'll actually help hold the felt flat against the table, because the caulk here, even though it says non-shrinking or whatever, that's not true. You and I, we know. It has a, even, it might be very minimal, but there is some shrinking. And by me going over the edge, it helps hold it down. Kind of like, you know, like when you glue something. Okay. Because as the caulk dries, I don't want my felt to curl up, right? I want it, and then when I throw it on the table, I want it to be able to lay just perfectly flat on the table. Now, I considered painting the felt first with like a house paint. I have a camouflage paint actually. I thought about painting it first and then checking to see if I even need to do this caulking. And you can see how that one out there kind of soaking in to the fabric, because even though it's a very tight knit felt, it still absorbs the caulk, which is really good actually, because then that gives the felt like its durability and its strength. I was thinking I wanted to do the ones in the back first because I'm having to lean over, but and then I can work my way back. But this piece is causing problems because I did it first, you know, so I can't lean over there. Okay, we're going to try an experiment here and make an adjustment so I don't have to lean over something that's already finished. Let's see if I can't, if there's enough room. already feels kind of rubbery, which is what I'm going for. Okay. There. Now, I'll, ooh, man. Let me get these out of the way. Okay, let me rearrange my layout and I'll be right back. All right, that works for me. Get it all laid out. Now, I want to point something out. I tried using earth tones on all the felt. The felt pack that I have comes with some purples and pinks and other colors that, you know, wouldn't look good on the table. You can still use them because once you cover it in putty and then you go in and paint it, once you paint it, then it doesn't matter what color the felt is. But this is just to kind of make it easier. What am I doing? Well, I'm doing woods and forests because those can double up, right? If I put a forest or woods down, I can use the same template because the trees that I'm going to use are just going to sit on top of the base. This is just a base for the woods. I'm also doing rocky ground, which technically is just a base like this. That's all it really is. And you just call it rocky ground. And then all it does in the game is act like difficult terrain. It doesn't provide cover or anything like that. So it's kind of like brush in that regard. So, okay, it's starting to soak in. I'm not trying to create or remove ruts or anything like that because I am still going to put a texture paste on top of this. Not only am I going to just paint it, but I'm also going to put maybe some texture paste on top of it. I think. I'm not sure. Some of these, like this one, is going to be a field, right? It's going to be a plowed field. And I think, to be honest, I think I want to do that one separately because I'm going to want to put ruts in my fields. Yeah, might do the fields on a follow-up. Yeah, this is close to empty, if not all the way empty, because you can see that it's all the way down. And that's all I covered with one container. Now, some of these little ones are also fields. Yeah, the yellow ones are all plowed fields. Now, what that means is I'm going to putty them just this way. And then I might use a piece of cardboard or I might use a dowel to draw ruts in the to draw ruts in the ground. I've used cardboard in the past where I would take a piece of cardboard and then I would cut the edge of the cardboard, and then I could just take the cardboard and drag it across the field. I do want to point this out. It's not really anything you can control. It's just an anecdotal situation that I ran into. I ordered this felt on Amazon. It came in yesterday, and they were 12 inch by 12 inch stiff felt tiles, I guess is what they call it, a sheet or whatever. And they came in random colors, right? As we already know. The pink and purple and blue and white and everything else. The problem that I'm encountering is that they are different thicknesses. They're not all the same thickness, and some of them are stiffer than others. Like some of them I would consider to be just soft felt. So even though I got 60 pieces, I think I'm only going to be able to use about half of them for this purpose. I can use them for other things. And you can use soft felt too. You don't have to use stiff felt. It's just that I wanted to use stiff. Okay, that's good. That black from the magic marker that I drew on these tiles with, yeah, it definitely shines through, especially when it's super thin. Now, I've played in some games where the host that's providing the terrain, or I've even gone to conventions, believe it or not, where the host who's providing the terrain will just use the felt, just pure felt. Like you'll get a felt piece and cut it, and it'll be a road. Or he'll get a felt piece and cut it, and it'll be the woods. That doesn't, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, don't try to, I don't want you to think that I'm an elitist, but I'm an elitist. I personally think you should put more effort into your terrain, as you can see, because that's what I'm doing. I think you should take a little effort, put some trees down, put some rocks down, block your terrain. You know, if you've got a hill, put some grass on it. If you've got a patch of woods, you should put some grass on the base. Because I you know, like people will spend hours and hours and hours to paint one figure. You know, they'll have like a German grenadier or something, and they'll spend all day painting that one figure, which I think is admirable, because they're obviously not using speed paints, which I hate, detest. But yeah, they'll spend all day painting their individual model, Panzer Grenadier with machine gun or something, and they'll sit there and paint him, and they'll take rocks and tufts and stuff like that, and they'll put it on the base, and they will, you know, be super proud of their grenadier and how well they painted him and stuff. But then when they get to the terrain, they just put felt on the table. And it's kind of disappointing. And I kind of feel sorry for them a little bit. Or I shouldn't say sorry. I feel embarrassed for them that they're putting all this effort into their soldier, which will probably get killed within the first 5 minutes of the game. But the woods are going to be there the entire game. You know, so they should have put some effort into their woods. More effort. I don't know, I'm filling dead air while I do this. I'm going to edit out a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to edit out a lot of stuff and make this a little bit more concise. That's another thing that I think I mentioned the last time I did some felt terrain, was that the putty will actually, depending on how thin I make it, you know, with the water and stuff, will soak into the felt, right? It'll actually stiffen the felt even more. Well, that's why I'm using it in the first place. But when it soaks in, it has a tendency to try to the word, what's the word I'm looking for? It'll help prevent it from curling, because it's pulling it flat, not on the top, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay, this one is almost empty, but at least we got it quite a bit covered. I'm going to keep going until it runs out. And I almost forgot about that piece up there, which is going to be a plowed field. I don't know if I'm going to have any space for it on the table. I'm going to try to squeeze a couple of pieces in here and see if I can't get it to fit. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to fit. I think I'm going to have to wait for one of these to dry before I could do that one. And doing the putty like this also helps when you paint it, for the paint not to soak into the fabric, right? So whatever color or however you're painting it, it's not gonna, it's like I'm sealing the felt. like a sealant. Plus, if I wanted to, I could really put some texture on the putty, and you could have like a very, very textured terrain piece. But I'm not really concerned about texture. I'm concerned about the paint and flock and everything else adhering to the felt. You know, this is a very stiff piece of felt. This one is. Oh, okay. I got it in there. Barely. Almost at the end of this. Now, these felt pieces with the putty on it, and the flock, and the texture paste, and everything else, they're going to be flexible. I'm not trying to make them, I don't know what the word is. I'm not trying to make them rubbery or so flexible that, you know, you can just bend them in half or whatever. That's not what I'm trying to do. But if you lay them on a table that's not perfectly flat, they'll conform to a non-perfectly flat table. If that makes any kind of sense. Okay, I think that's the end of that one. But I think there's going to be just enough to cover this tile. So I made a bunch of these pieces because these are the ones that I was going to be making out of felt. There's still some terrain that I'm going to be using and making with MDF. Specifically that gully that I was talking about making. I need to make that with MDF. It needs to be rigid. Because it's going to be basically a crater with a lip around the outer edge. Here we go. Rob from Peter to pay Paul. Take some of this. Put over here. All right, that works. Let me wash my hands and I'll be right back. Yeah, I considered wearing a glove on both hands so that I wouldn't have to wash my hands. I could just peel the gloves off and throw them away. But I like the control that I have with a gloveless hand. Okay, this is where we're going to end the video right here. This is obviously not finished. I've got to let it dry before I can go on to the next step of painting. But in the meantime, I mean, for you, I'm going to splice this together with the second video, so it'll just be one big video. But I'm going to putty all these other ones off camera let everything dry. And then when I get to painting and stuff like that, I'll turn the camera back on, and you'll get a chance to see that as well. So this is where we're going to have a little cut, and I'll be right back.